It was one of the most dramatic moments in the entire Bible. A mountain wrapped in smoke, the sound of thunder, and God himself speaking with Moses, giving him the divine commandments that would guide an entire nation. But even as Moses stood in the holy presence of God on Mount Sinai, something devastating was happening below. A betrayal so deep, so shocking, that when Moses saw it with his own eyes, he shattered the very tablets written by the hand of God. This wasn't just an emotional outburst, it was a response to rebellion that would change Israel's relationship with God forever. Let's go back to Exodus 19, where God calls Moses up Mount Sinai. There, in divine fire and glory, God begins his covenant with Israel, giving them the 10 Commandments. For 40 days and nights, Moses remains on the mountain, fasting and receiving the law directly from God. According to Exodus 31-8, God gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of God. These tablets were sacred symbols of God's covenant, literally inscribed by the Lord himself. They were not just rules, they represented God's voice, authority, and presence among his people. But down at the base of the mountain, the people grew impatient. In Exodus 32, we read that they said to Aaron, "Make us gods who will go before us." As for this, Moses, we don't know what has happened to him. In Moses' absence, they demanded a physical object to worship, just like the idols of Egypt. Aaron, shockingly, gave in. He collected their gold, melted it, and formed a golden calf, declaring, "These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." This moment was pure betrayal. The Israelites had just entered into a covenant with the living God. They had seen the Red Sea part, tasted manna from heaven, and heard God's voice thundering from the mountain. And now, they were dancing and sacrificing to a man-made idol, as if all God had done meant nothing. They didn't just disobey a command, they rejected the God who saved them. God, still speaking with Moses on the mountain, immediately told him what was happening. In Exodus 32-7-10, God says, "Go down, because your people, whom you brought up out of Egypt, have become corrupt." God was angry. He even said he would destroy them and make a new nation from Moses. But Moses interceded passionately, begging God to have mercy and remember his promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because of Moses' plea, God relented from destroying them outright. But what Moses saw when he finally descended was even worse than he expected. In Exodus 32-19, it says, "When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain." This wasn't just frustration, it was symbolic. The people had already broken the covenant, they had violated it before it was even physically delivered. The shattered tablets represented the broken relationship between Israel and their God. What followed was swift and severe. Moses burned the golden calf, ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the people drink it. He confronted Aaron, who tried to shift the blame. Then Moses stood at the camp's entrance and declared, "Whoever is for the Lord, come to me." The sons of Levi rallied, and at Moses' command, they carried out judgment, resulting in the deaths of about 3,000 people that day. The consequences of that day were profound. God told Moses in Exodus 33 that he would no longer go with the people personally, but would send an angel instead. This devastated Moses. He once again interceded, begging for God's presence not to leave them. And God, in his mercy, agreed. Moses' faithful leadership and intercession restored what was broken, but the scars remained. God would eventually tell Moses to carve new tablets, and once again, he would inscribe the 10 Commandments upon them, as seen in Exodus 34. But the betrayal at the golden calf became a defining moment of Israel's spiritual failure. This story teaches us that spiritual betrayal often begins in moments of impatience and fear. The Israelites, unsure of God's timing, tried to fill the silence with something they could control. They didn't want to wait on the invisible God, they wanted a visible idol. But God is not interested in superficial loyalty. He wants obedience, reverence, and trust, even in the waiting. Moses' act of shattering the tablets is a reminder that sin always fractures something sacred. It damages our relationship with God, breaks our trust with one another, and leaves a trail of consequences. And yet, even in the midst of judgment, we see God's mercy. He didn't abandon his people. Through Moses' intercession, he renewed the covenant, rebuilt the relationship, and gave Israel another chance. It also shows the incredible burden of leadership. Moses was caught between a holy God and a sinful people. He pleaded for both justice and mercy. And through his prayers, Israel experienced forgiveness, but not without discipline. The golden calf incident became a cautionary tale repeated throughout the Old Testament. In Nehemiah, Psalms, and Acts, the writers reflect on this moment as a warning against idolatry and spiritual unfaithfulness. Ultimately, this moment points us to Jesus. Just as Moses went up a mountain to receive God's word and intercede for a sinful people, Jesus went up another hill, Calvary, where he didn't just break tablets, but broke the power of sin itself. He didn't plead for mercy with sacrifices of bulls and goats, but offered himself. Through Christ, the covenant is no longer written on stone, but written on our hearts. So the next time we think about Moses shattering the tablets, let's remember it wasn't just about broken stone. It was about a broken covenant, a shocking betrayal, and a God whose justice is matched only by his mercy. It is a story that warns us not to replace God with our own golden idols and invites us to return to the one who writes his law not just on tablets, but on the very fabric of our souls.